Good day, everyone. We are the Group 9. So today, we will report the Section 18 and Section 19. Hello, everyone. My name is Edwarrynm Alavaren, and I will be the one to discuss the Article 3 Bill of Rights Section 18, which is no person shall be detained solely by reason of his political beliefs and aspirations. So the rule of Article 3 Bill of Rights Section 18 is that freedom to believe is absolute, but freedom to act in accordance with such political belief is limited. Meaning, the first part of the provision deals with the right not to be detained by reason solely of political beliefs and aspirations. So this is essentially embodied in the freedom of expression, but with emphasis on the prohibition against incarceration of political prisoners. So in conclusion of the Article 3 Bill of Rights Section 18 first part is that every person has its own conscience, and this conscience, whether you are rich or poor, you are weak or mighty, should not be restrained except when it is translated into action that directly transgress the law. That's all, thank you. Let's listen to the next reporter, Miss Mia Ariola.
Section 18, Article 3 of Bills of Rights and its involuntary servitude. Section 18, Paragraph 2 is no involuntary servitude in any form shall exist except as a punishment for a crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted. According to this paragraph, it provides that a condition of enforced compulsory services to another, regardless of its form of prohibited. So so in involuntary servitude is every condition of enforced or compulsory services of one to another, no matter under what form of such servitude may be distinguished. So, what is involuntary servitude? Involuntary servitude is the condition of one who is compelled by force, coercion, or imprisonment and against his will to labor for another, whether he is paid or not. So it involves slavery, which is the civil relation in which man has absolute power over the life, fortune, and liberty of another, and we have peonage or a condition of enforced servitude by which the servitor or restrained of his liberty and compelled to labor in liquidation of some debt or obligation, real or pretended against his will. So we have to remember that the general rule is that no involuntary service in any form shall exist. We have to take into consideration, we remember in our obligation that says, when the obligation is to do, and it is a specific obligation. You cannot compel your debtor or the obligor to perform such act because it constitutes to this involuntary servitude and it is prohibited. It isn't shining our constitution in our Bill of Rights that is prohibited. So violation of which it equates to violation of our rights and therefore is constitutional. So there isn't involuntary servitude was prohibited. So here are the exception of the rule. First is we have punishment for a crime which the party shall have been duly convicted or what was provided in section 8 as mentioned a while ago. Second is the personal military or civil service in the interest of national defense of Section 4, Article 2. Third is the naval investment or a remain in service until the end of voyage so that the crew would not deserve the ship, making it or difficult for the owners to recruit new hands to continue the voyage. Fourth is the post comitatus or in pursuit of person who might have violated the law. The authorities might command all the male inhabitants of a certain age to assist them. Then we have returned toward order in industries affected by the public interest, a return to work order in relation to labor cases involving industry affected by the public interest. So the imperative is the order in fact that it is not even considered violation of the right against involuntary servitude. And lastly, the partia podestas. Partia podestas are those immense unem- um, unemancipated minors which are obliged to obey their parents so that they are under parental power and to observe respect and reverence to them as always.
So I will be the next reporter. My name is Chariss Delmo. So what is the cruel and inhuman punishment? This is in relation to Section 19, Article 3, still of Bill of Rights 1987 Constitution. So Section 19, Article 3 provides excessive fines shall not be imposed, nor cruel, degrading, or inhuman punishment inflicted. Neither shall the death penalty be imposed unless for compelling reasons involving heinous crimes. The Congress hereafter provides for it. Any death penalty already imposed shall be reduced to reclusion perpetua. A fine is excessive if the fine is unreasonable and doesn't take into consideration certain standards such as nature of the offense and the circumstances of the person being fined. Next is a punishment is cruel when it is shocking to the conscience of mankind and it involves prolonged suffering and agony to the person punished. So, what do we mean by cruel, degrading, and inhuman punishment? So, a penalty is cruel and inhuman if it's involved torture or lingering suffering. And that's all for this topic.
Good day, my name is Gemuel Jabel Jr. And the next topic is the employment of physical, psychological, or degrading punishment against any prisoner or detainee, or the use of substandard or inadequate penal facilities under subhuman conditions shall be dealt with by law. So first is the prohibited punishment. So what are prohibited punishment or prohibited acts? So prohibited punishment, unauthorized transport or dumping in the waters of sewage, sludge, or solid waste, operate facilities that discharge or allow to sip willfully or through grave negligence prohibited chemicals, substances, or pollutants listed. So the next is the burning alive. So, burning alive or a death by burning is an execution method involving combustion or exposure to extreme heat. It has a long history as a form of public capital punishment. So, and many societies have employed it as a punishment for a warning against crimes such as treason, heresy, and the witchcraft. So the best known execution of this type is burning at the stake, where the condemned is bound to a large wooden stick and a fire lit beneath. So the next is the mutilation. So mutilation or mining from the Latin words of mutilus. So it's cutting of a causing injury to a body. So part of a person, so that the part of the body is permanently damaged, detached, or distinguished, or disfigured. So next is the starvation. Starvation is a severe deficiency and caloric energy intake below the level needed to maintain an organism's life. It is the most extreme from the malnutrition in humans. Prolonged starvation can cause permanent organ damage and eventually death. So the term inanition refers to the symptoms of effects of starvation. Starvation may also be used as a means of torture or the execution. So next is the drowning and the other barbarous punishment. So the drowning is a type of suffocation induced by the submersion or immersion of the mouth and the nose in a liquid. No? So most instances of fetal drowning occur alone, or situations where others present are either unaware of the victim situations or unable to offer assistance. So after successfully resuscitations, drowning victims may experience breathing problems, vomiting, confusion, or unconsciousness. Or occasionally, victims may not begin experiencing these symptoms for several hours after they are rescued. So an incident of the drowning can also cause further complication for victims due to the low body temperature. So aspiration or of vomit or acute respiratory distress syndrome. So the next is the hanging punishment. Hanging is the suspension of a person by a noose or ligature. So around the neck, the Oxford English Dictionary states that hanging in the sense is specifically to put to the death by suspension by the neck, through and firmly also referred to the crucifixion and death by impalement, in which the body would remain hanging. So hanging has been common method of a capital punishment. So since medieval times, and is a primarily execution method in numerous countries and regions. The first known account of execution by hanging was in Homer's Odyssey. So in this specialized meaning of the common word hang, the past and past particular or participle is hanged instead of hung. So hanging is a common method of suicide in which a person applies in ligature of the neck and brings about unconsciousness and then death by suspension or partial suspension. The lastly is the electrocution. So electrocution method execution in which the condemned person is subjected to a heavy charge of electric current, no? So gamitan ka og usa ka electric current sa imuhang punishment, no? Munang gamitan kag ingon ana tungod kay atong wala nay kahumanon or life sa ngalan ni life sentence na ka, no? So once the most widely used method of execution, so in the United States, electrocution was largely supplanted by lethal injection. In the late 20th and the early 21st centuries, and is now used relatively rarely. So the method applies one more high voltage electrical currents through electrode attached to the head of and the legs, no? So ibutang din na diri sa imong ulo o diri sa imong paa. So of a condemned inmate, so who sits strapped to a chair, a typically electronic lasts about 2 minutes, no? So tungod sa kakusog sa kurente, ang imuhang kinabuhi or sa pagkuan nimo, pagpunish nimo, 2 ka minuto ra ang mulabay, patay na ka. And that's all for group 9. Sir, thank you.
That's all, thank you.